Are we good? All right, everybody. Welcome. Wednesday Lunch and Learn Training here at the Real School. We're going to kick things off with Lisa, who's our lunch sponsor. That's not our lunch sponsor, but we're going to give her the floor. She brought lunch, and Nicole brought lunch, and it was a little miscommunication. So we're giving her the floor for a little bit, talk about some movement morning stuff.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yes, thank you. Well, I'm only here for a few minutes. Welcome, Nicole. You guys awesome. And thanks for having me once again. And I just know that number one, I want to write down October 1st. We are going to have at Movement Mortgage North Raleigh training, which is real estate continued ed credited by North Carolina Housing. And it's limited seating, so you should have received an invite. If you didn't, pop me a text or something. And I will get that invite to you because it's going to go quickly. There's 35 seats and there's 3 loan officers inviting, and within a couple hours 4 were gone. So, but that's going to be helpful. I want you to really engage. There's so many loan products, but I think in the market, the sellers have not wanted to accept North Carolina housing, but their income limitations have increased, their sales prices have increased, and we're missing out on some buyers that could really benefit, especially with what's going on with NAR settlement, because they give down payment assistance and different things like that. So reach out to me. I think that would be a great class because it is driven directly to real estate agents. All right. And that was my thing, but I wanted this to be big. You know, August 17th is what kind of day for you guys? Vegan. Vegan. So this is, imagine this to be October 17th. I'm sorry if you could, kind of cute, but I can't do technology. But August 17th, this is the realtor's first open house. What does that mean for buyers agency agreements? This is how you handle it. You ready?
Think so.
She just
Serena?
they're ready.
Yeah. Yes. We're with you. Go for it.
We got more bouncing. So we get the library for the open house and the buyers in there.
Delta New President, Chapter 2-6, ID number 097435. Third from the top. 6234978. Fifth from the top. Calling to activate phone tree number 255. To activate phone tree 255. This is not a fire drill. Repeat. Sisters mobilized. ETA 0800 hours. Tiffany. Becky. Hi, Audrey. It's Melanie. It's Sabrina. Hey, Courtney. It's Veronica. Christy. It's Nat. It's Nikki. It's Jill. It's JoJo.
Hi, Allison. It's Cookie.
You will never believe what happened. Elle just called and she needs help. Susie, we're taking it to DEFCON 1. No. I know. Well, we have to sit off. I say the flashlight, but no. Ladies, it's time.
That was it. So sorry it wasn't on the big screen. I think you may have gotten a little bit more out of it. The gist is you guys have been through so much training. Some real estate firms and brokerage firms, they have given so much support and guidance. You've got this, but you also know you've got a whole phone tree of people supporting you, and you know you're there. As you're a loan officer in this area, I'm here for you as well. Number one, when you get a pre-approval, please make sure that your lender has confirmed that the buyer has the funds to pay the real estate agent commission or compensation. So you know that if the seller isn't paying anything and so forth, that's covered and you don't have to worry about that as much, okay? So I'm here for you guys during that time. I've sent out sellers concession flyers to kind of educate you on what exactly they can pay per loan program and so forth. But you got this, and good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, sure.
Urgent.
Go first.
Hey, all right, folks, we got Nicole Walker from True Homes coming up now. And she's our main presenter for today, talking all things new construction. Awesome.
How you doing? Presentation that I sent over. Nicole, it's not here.
Okay,
Um,
we can work it out.
yeah, it's okay. It's the presentation we have here, but if there's anybody virtual, I thought it was nice to have it.
I'll ask Nicole when she comes back in.
How's everybody doing? Good? Yeah.
Looking good.
So this seems like a really massive packet, but it's honestly just like pictures so that it reminds me what I'm talking about and keeps you on track. But it's gonna be more of a conversation than anything because like Lisa was saying, we all want you to be successful. So True Homes, who has done a deal with True Home or has been to visit us or something like that, right? So if you're not familiar, our whole business is based off of you guys. So we don't spend as much as the other builders do on massive marketing campaigns, right? We pay you guys higher commissions and we always have done. So whatever your buyer agency agreement says, up to 3% is how you'll be compensated. So read between the lines on that one. Okay, whatever your buyer agency agreement says, up to 3%. Okay. And we hold strong behind that because we believe these partnerships are really important. So we want you to be really successful when it comes to selling new construction because not all builders are the same. I'm going to talk a lot about True Homes today, right? But there's also a lot of really good information in here from my experience as working for a builder, but also from being in general brokerage. So I've been general brokerage on a team as a buyer's agent. 70% of my business was new construction, and this was about 7 years ago. So this was before people really latched on to new construction during COVID when we were super limited on inventory, and the only inventory was really coming from new construction, right? So my experience there and how I did it and how I did open houses and lead generating and stuff like that and got all that business, in my opinion, if you know the people you're working with, it can be a lot easier working with buyers buying new construction. For a multitude of different reasons, and we'll talk about that. But you'll see a big U on the front page because True Homes always says it's all about you. So we mean it about you guys, we mean it about clients, and you'll see that in our product and everything. If you do not have a go-to person at True Homes, my partner and I were right there for you. What I mean by this is like you have a go-to person, you have a go-to person, I'm your go-to person, right? So you get to call one person at True Homes and they can help you in all of the communities in their market, right? So for us, that's the Triangle area. Super nice when you sit down in an appointment in Benson where I sit and they say, well, I'm interested in Benson, Clayton, and Andrew. And we can just talk about all of it. We can talk about all the pricing, all the options, right? So just know that if you don't have a person, we can be your person. We can help you in all the neighborhoods. All right, so the next page here is the title, right? How to lead generate and sell new construction. So why new construction? Why are you guys interested in selling more new construction? Okay, do you know why? Have you asked?
I've heard them use, renew, they might accelerate to how they name.
It's usually gonna come with a warranty. For a lot of first-time home buyers, that's a big deal. For a lot of buyers in general, but especially first-time home buyers. Any other reasons that you see people looking at new construction? Or why you want to sell more new construction?
A lot of people are worried about like repairs and stuff like that with older homes.
Yeah, like your due diligence process and your repair requests and stuff like that. And a lot of that came out of what happened over the last few years, right? A lot of people got burnt because it was just a super competitive market and they didn't get the chance to do all that, right? So what about you guys though? Is there a reason that you guys want to sell besides just the buyers want? Something to think about, right? So it's okay to have a preference. It doesn't mean that you're not helping all the people that you want to help, but it's okay to have a buyer profile preference. It helps you target who you want to go after, right? So the main reason for me that you should be interested in new construction is on the next page. So with new homes tripling in market share as inventory on the resale side tightens due to the lockdown effect and with NAR ruling changes, new homes represent solutions. So let's break this down a little bit. So before COVID, in our market, new construction represented about 10% of the sales on the buy side. Now we're at about 30%. It's a massive growth over a few years. And I think you're really going to see that continue to grow because we need so many homes. And there's about 100 people a day just moving to Wake County, right? And that's not counting Johnson, Harnett, Franklin. That's just Wake County. we do not have enough homes. And they just keep coming, so we have to make them, right? So you're gonna see that new construction market share go up and up and up. So that's a big piece of it. It's just gonna be something that is the solution a good portion of the time, because there's not that much else. The other side, the resale tightening because of the lockdown effect. I actually really like my Benson Village neighborhood. It's super centrally located. And I was like, maybe I'll buy a smaller house. Now that my life has kind of changed a little bit over the last couple of years, I don't need such a big house, and I'll move to Benson. Well, for me to get a smaller home in Benson, I would probably spend about $1,000 more per month. Because I got an amazing deal on my house during COVID. It's a really great interest rate, really great price point that you cannot touch in that area anymore. I bought it with True Homes. And that's how fast that happened, right? Well, there's a lot of people having this conversation. So you have to figure out why you want to move with all your buyers, resale, new construction, whatever. You really need to have a firm grasp on it. It's one of the first questions we ask them in our office, because if you do not understand that, then you could spend so much time with people who are at the end of the day going to come up and look at those numbers and say, no, can't do it, right? So you really need to help them understand that monthly payment and their motivation. So that's going to be something just to be aware of. Some of these people who don't have a specific reason for moving, they might not be selling their house for a little while. And so that's going to really constrain the inventory even more, right? And before I go into the next bit, a new piece of this, even just since I did this last month, as the rates are cooling off and coming down a little bit, you're going to see, we've already seen it. I had 8 appointments on Saturday. And 5 of them were walk-ins, and they were all qualifiable people who, if I had had the lots, and we'll get there in a second, I would have sold them, right? So these people are hitting the market, and we feel it first because we just have a higher volume of appointments than you guys do because we're in a model home, right? So these people are hitting the market like crazy, and so you add that to the fact that there's less inventory on the market than there really should be, and there probably will be a problem with that for about 5 to 10 years at least. And I can't say past that because we don't look at data past that. It's really highly unpredictable past that, right? So this is gonna be a problem, and we're just constricting. You need to be telling your buyers this. You need to be talking to your lenders and getting really comfortable with what does it mean for somebody buying a house with an incentive from a builder right now at today's price, and they can buy down the interest rate versus waiting a year for a lower interest rate and the price goes up because the demand goes up. You do the math, most of the time, it's going to be more expensive later. It's either going to be the same for less house, or it's just going to be more expensive later. And so helping them with that is going to be key, right? So the NAR ruling changes. The nice thing about builders is they've always shown their colors about this, haven't they? You know exactly what you're getting with them, right? And it's out there, they'll tell you in a heartbeat, and you know, and it's pretty consistent most of the time. Like sometimes some of the builders will do 2.5% across the board, but this one neighborhood's not selling that great, so they'll increase it to like 3%. But for the most part, you have an idea of what they're paying or not paying, right? Start watching that too. I think that the way that the MLS is controlling all this is gonna also affect it. Like we can't put dollar amounts in there, right? So like we couldn't even put a design studio credit for the clients in the remarks. So what we have to do is say there is a design studio credit, but we are not allowed to put the amount of the credit in there. So the builders who are really banking on just paying you guys bonuses, they can't put stuff like that in the comments, you know? So how are they gonna get there? So we'll see how this all plays out. But definitely formulate your relationships with different on-site agents at different builders so you can stay in the know about where they're trading and where they're going. Because trust me, regardless of the company's standpoint on it, that on-site agent wants to make sales, and when they have people who continually bring them sales, they are going to give you good information. They're just gonna do it, right? Unless they're maybe not the on-site you necessarily want to work with anyway. So, okay. So we have a few different lead sources that we track. I will say that one of the things that makes us like insanely more successful at conversion than a lot of other people in our industry is the metric. So if you guys are not tracking your conversion, that's something that we look at daily, right? So we look at IST, which is our internet sales team, right? Then we have walk-ins, broker traffic, which we then like go down into multiple layers. Like, is this somebody that I have a relationship with? Is this somebody who I've done business with? And we track that as well. And then like stuff like social media, marketing in general, and referrals, right? Which lead source do you think gets converted at the highest level?
Walk-ins.
That's so funny to me. Everybody every time says walk-in. It is the absolute lowest conversion rate. Broker traffic from people that we have sold with before will convert at about 50%. So for every 2 you bring us, we should be selling one.
I guess the walk-ins are just basically browsing community to community.
They
That's-
could be serious.
Yeah.
But there's nothing tying, investing in that. And there's nobody doing the front end work for them most of the time. Even if they do have an agent, a lot of times the walk-ins come in without their agent, right? And so nobody has called and said, do you have this? Do you have that? What price is this? What is done all that investigation for them? So it might not be as fit for them. So it is much harder to convert. The national average conversion, right, for new construction builders on walk-ins is 5 to 7%. So you go 5 to 7% or 50%. Where would you put your money? Right? And that's why we invest in you guys so highly. But this is something to be very aware of, right? So that doesn't mean that you guys can't convert lead traffic really well that walks in, because the difference is you guys can help them anywhere if they want to work with you, right? So if we are not a good source for them, we can still help them. I find that really interesting to talk about because I think people don't realize that, and I really want to drive that point home. I think that you will find it is different at other builders. They are highly focused on walk-in traffic. Doesn't make too much sense to me, just because of the numbers, doesn't make sense to me. But know what the different builders programs are, how they go about getting their business, because that's how you can really get in and make those relationships and be a part of that, right? So I'm gonna tell you a little bit about True Homes, and then we'll get into some more stuff about new construction in general. So some of you guys are familiar with this, but if you're not, on the next page, we've won several awards. The ones that I do want to talk about are gonna be on the next page, so I'll get you there in a second. But we are a semi-custom builder. So do you guys know that there's 3 different types of new construction builders? Anybody want to tell me what they are? Okay, I promise I won't bite.
Custom.
Semi-custom and custom.
Thank you, yes. So you've got a spectrum, right? Most people are used to production builders. They do the same thing over and over again. So Lennar, Pulte, Ryan, KB, right? They may have some options, but it's gonna be pretty limited. And that's why they keep their price where they are, because they're doing the same thing over and over and over again. It's an assembly line, right? Then you've got your custom builders, and that is usually out of most people's price range, time range, everything, right? Because if you haven't done a construction loan with a client before, talk to a lender who does them and ask them about it. It's a lot. That will save you so much time when you're helping somebody who wants new construction and they look at you and go, I'm just so frustrated. I don't want an HOA. I just want to pick up a piece of land and I'm going to have somebody custom build me a house. And they are also asking you about down payment assistance. Those 2 conversations do not go together at all. The lowest I have ever seen a new construction loan down payment be is 10 to 15%. There might be one floating out there that's like 5%, but the rates are higher and you gotta have good credit and you gotta have money. Even if you're not putting it down, it's gotta be there. Your assets should be there. You're paying for that home while it's being built, an interest-only mortgage payment while it's being built. With most builders, you don't actually know what the price is gonna be until you finish, because it's a draw program. So they tell you what they think it's gonna be. But if the framing package goes up in price when they go to order it, that's your problem, not theirs. Okay, so custom build is definitely something that some people can take on, but you and that buyer will become a superintendent. You will be there all the time, making sure that it stays on track, right? Because there's nobody else doing it. So that's the spectrum. We're semi-custom. Semi-custom is in the middle, where we price ourselves with production builders, and we act a little bit more like production builders in that there's set specific options. And even when we do custom options, we have a range of what we know we can ask for and not ask for. Like, we won't completely re-engineer a plan, right? But we'll move a wall, stuff like that. We have in Benson Village, for example, because it's just easy for me to remember, 19 floor plans with 53 different downstairs variations amongst them. Then each one has 2 to 3 different or more upstairs options, multiple structural options. They get to go to a design studio in Apex. Before they go to the design studio, they get an online catalog with pictures and prices so that they're not shocked. We do a wish list with them with line item pricing so that, again, they're not shocked. There's 20 to 30 different front exteriors for each home. we have a very specific process to get somebody through this. So the more options you have, the more you need to lean on your on-sites to let them do their process. Because if you try to jump all over it, they've been trained in some kind of process. And if you try to go this way, that way, and push against their process, you're gonna take a 1 hour appointment and turn it into 3. And you're probably going to confuse clients, right? So just trust us to do our process unless you see it really derailing. Like that on-site is just completely going off the rails, then maybe pull it back in, right? But most of the time we know what we're doing, especially if we've been with that company for a while, right? So that's semi-custom. Then we talked about this. So National Housing Quality Award in 2019, we won that with the highest award they had ever given out in gold. And then the year later, they came back and they made us National Builder of the Year. Now, the reason this is a big deal for us is because we only sell in North and South Carolina. And so we beat out all the national builders that year. Yeah. And we are the largest privately owned builder in North and South Carolina. That's why we can do what we do for the price that we do. So when you're thinking about these different builders and you're like over at Lennar and you're like, well, True Homes does it. It's because they're publicly traded and we're not. So we can choose to not make as much profit as they do. Also, they're national, so they just don't make as much profit because they're stretched so thin all the way across. That behavior is going to come back over and over and over again when you're asking yourself, why do they do this? Why do they do that? Almost always the answer is going to be profit. And it's because they have to report daily profits, weekly profits, monthly profits, and yearly profits. So if they're missing goals day by day by day, that's why when COVID happened, they just let all those people go. They didn't know what was going to happen. They didn't know it was going to go crazy. And they just let a slew of people go. Right? And they reacted. They're very reactionary. Okay. Another really fun thing is the True Party. So we have this thing called a core broker partnership program. And so if you have a strategic person that you go to at True Home and you do one deal a year with us, after that first time you do it, as long as you do it at least once a year, then you get special benefits for you and your clients. So one that you definitely get is that if your client, after you become a core broker, does a build, they get $1,000 Design Studio credit because you're their agent. And we phrase it that way. Because you're working with this awesome agent who we love, they have gotten you $1,000 credit. And it helps with that relationship and potential referrals. And sometimes it comes down to that. That is what gets somebody the countertop that they couldn't afford. You know, so that's a big piece of it. But when you are a core broker, you get invited to this party. We give away $300,000 in cash in like an hour. It's a lot of fun. So we'll take you down there to Charlotte. We'll have a good day. It's a lot of fun. That's why you see everybody screaming and yelling. So we play games. They're silly games, but they're really fun. Okay, and then specifically, where are we for True Home? So if you look at this, each dot, don't pay attention to the numbers so much. They're just the highest square footage you can get in each community. But we have Lake Royale, which starts at $299. We do ranches and 2 stories up there. Are you guys familiar with that area at all? If you have any questions about any of these areas, I don't want to take up too much time in the class today, but just let me know directly and I'm happy to give you a lot of information on them. So Lake Royale is Lewisburg, right? So Franklin County. And then down here in Wendell, in downtown Wendell, we had our event there. We've got townhouses, 3-story townhouses, and they just got reduced. So they are, 2 of the units are $339 and $349 finished. And they do have incentives, so we can help with buying down rates. Then we have Flowers. So you guys familiar with Flowers in Clayton?
Yes.
Okay, so we have single family there, and we're the only single family builder in Flowers right now. And so for those, we're gonna start in the high freeze realistic prices into the 4s for single family. We have townhomes over at the new waterfront district. So if you're familiar with that, that's where they're gonna do all that retail and commercial around the pond in Flowers. We're the only residential that you can purchase on the water that connects to the sidewalks and can walk over to the retail. And so we're gonna be there from the 330s to the 380s. We have 3 different plans currently that we can sell for townhouses. One of them is an owner suite down. And then eventually we'll have 4-story townhouses on the water, and I couldn't tell you a realistic price on those right now, but more. More. Okay, Benson Village has been our most popular neighborhood, which is really surprising to a lot of people, but I think it's because it's where we can get the most land and the most house for the lowest price out of all of these communities. And it's only 35 minutes to downtown Raleigh. So when you're looking at this, it's the same commute as Clayton. So we get a lot of people who've been priced out of Clayton coming over to Benson, or people who want to be halfway between Fayetteville and Raleigh or something like that. It's right off of 95. We start in the low 300s. I think with a lot and a house right now, I can hit 320 total price for an owner suite down or a 2-story. And those are both around 2,100 square feet. We have ranches out there like crazy. We've been selling them like crazy over there. The one that we sell the most of is very versatile. Like you can change a dining room to a bedroom or a study. You can add a sitting room into the primary suite. You can change your nook out and make it as large as a dining room. You can do a sunroom. You can do a screen porch. And most of the time, you can't do that kind of stuff on a ranch. So that's why people really love that. Then we have the Bowie's Creek townhomes, which you guys have a flyer for. So honestly, we could probably get the payment and or rate a little bit lower than what you see on this flyer because things have changed a little bit. But we have homes at $239,900 for townhomes right behind Campbell University and Lillington, which is the Bowie's Creek area. They do not have garages, but they're 1,300 square feet, 3 beds, 2.5 baths. They are great for students, and we have 2 investment opportunities left, although I am currently talking to somebody who wants both. So if you have an investor for it, please, please, please let us know as soon as possible. Also, I forgot to mention there's one in Wendell. Okay. We
That's
don't,
the property?
yeah,
Really?
one of the townhomes we'll sell as investor.
Okay.
Yeah. So we don't normally do that because we try to limit our homes to primary residence, right? But sometimes in the townhome communities, we'll make these exceptions. Then we have a new community that just came on in Lillington. So our Benson Village community is about an average of a 0.3 acre lot on city water, city sewer. And then most of our other communities are 0.15, except for Nathan's Bridge in Lillington, where it's going to be an average of 0.2, 0.25. Also city water, city sewer, and it's about $10,000 more than Benson, but we have a lot of the same plans. So for people who want to be on that side of town rather than in Benson, that can be a really good option. And then we also have Angier. So we've been in Angier for a while. And so those ones are going to be in a similar price range to Nathan's Ridge. They're just going to have a slightly smaller lot and be in downtown Angier. So that's where we're at right now. All right. So with us specifically, would love for you to do social media. This is a really big piece of knowing your partners with new construction. Ask everybody that you can if you can do social media stuff with them and get permission. I would say from other builders, get it in writing. For us, it's so frequent. I can put it in writing if you want me to, like in an email, but you can just do your thing. As long as it's accurate and you tag your partners. That's what we would love for you to do. So this could be, oh, let me say these 2 things. Partner with the builder and get permission. I said that. Positive vibes only. If you have feedback, you give that directly, right? Don't lose your privileges because you walked through a house and you're like, oh God, you guys see how ugly that is? Don't do that. I've had people do that.
Like on
Don't do that.
video?
Yes, on Facebook Live or something.
Please.
Please,
Oh my
yeah, please
God.
don't do that. It seems obvious, but I have to say it. If it's like you notice something that needs to be fixed, just come tell us. We'll fix it. You know?
Don't film me.
Don't film it. Don't do that to me. All right, here's some good ideas for social media that you can do with all builders. So tour the model home. Ask the onsite, they'll do an interview with it. I obviously I can talk, guys. So like if you want me to do a video with you about new construction specifically for buyers, if you want to do a video about incentives and how that can work to somebody's benefit when they're doing new construction. If you want to do a video just about the community, about the process of new construction, some of our builders might even get on and do social media with you. That's very different for us. Most companies are not going to do that. They don't want their builder out there talking to anybody. So ask, but we are very, very happy to partner with you on that because again, you guys are a lead source. We want you to get leads, right? And one of the easiest ways to do it is consistent social media. It takes time, in my opinion, to really build up that brand, but you have to start somewhere. And the nice thing about new construction is everybody loves to look at new construction. So that might not be the buyer that you're attracting when you're putting a $450,000 house out there, but they see it, they love it, they're going to ask you questions about it. That's your goal. Also, it makes you look busy. So that's good. All right, so that's one. Check out quick move-in homes for sale. Trust me, I don't know about other videos, but for us, if you want to come over and you want to do a video of that completed home that I have sitting there ready to sell, yes, please come do that, right? Capture the same home if you're coming back and return visits. So let's say Talk to your on-sites, like I have one in Benson Village that's in drywall right now. But it's technically a quick move-in home, we just haven't listed it yet. I know the price on it, if somebody wanna buy it, they can buy it. But you could come in and you could film that house and film it every month or something like that. Maybe you sold a house in that neighborhood and you're coming to check on the house anyways. People love to see progress photos, and it doesn't even necessarily have to be the same house. I just think it's cute to do the same house. You could just do different stages of the process amongst multiple homes. People love seeing that kind of stuff. And again, it makes you look like an expert. Pick homes that look nice and clean. I will say True Homes, this is a place where we put a lot of attention, where I've seen and walked some other sites that are not the same. So pick something that's gonna look good on your social media, even if it's under construction. And if you wanna make your life easier, just ask the on-site which one they want you to do, because they'll know probably which one looks the best. Okay. Get first access to pricing and pre-sale opportunities. So if you come to my neighborhood and you're doing continual social media just blasts about my neighborhood, who do you think I'm gonna tell every time you come in when something changes, something's new? I mean, it's easy. And then you can get on social media and say, hey, I'm the first one to tell you guys. I'm the expert. I know the people that you need to know. And you don't have to be cocky about it like that. But when you're putting that information out there, that's what they think, right? And honestly, we'll get to this in a minute, but that's your job. When it comes to new construction, a big part of your job is knowing who to know, right? Local content. This is huge. Most of the buyers we have coming in have no idea where they want to be. They're just looking for new construction in a general area within a certain commute of somewhere. We have people that are looking from Andrew, sometimes as far as Sanford, all the way over, swinging over to Wendell, and they're looking at Benson in the middle, right? And so they're trying to figure out where they're going. So one of the biggest things we talk about is the different communities and what's special about each city. So getting to know that while you're out there visiting new construction, go to the little downtown area, because most of your new construction is probably in these up and coming areas unless you're in a different price point, right? Get to know it, ask the on-site. Some of them are gonna be better at that than others. But yeah, I mean, like Benson's a really good example because it's like a Mayberry kind of situation. Everybody's so nice and they don't care if you come film their stores, film downtown. You can stop by the Chamber of Commerce. They will give you free professional photos and stuff to post because they want you doing it about Benson. Get to know these people. And sometimes it's just stopping in a cafe and having a conversation and grabbing a coffee, but don't undervalue the local community and your knowledge of it. We have at our model, we actually have a flyer of our 30 favorite places in downtown Benson. And the fact that I can just say our 30 favorite places in downtown Benson blows people's minds away. We had a list of 60. We had to pare it down, right? There's a lot more going on in these towns than you probably think there is, and you guys can be the experts, which is going to really help your clients. It's going to save you time too. All right, cool. So before I move on to the next one, anybody have questions about new construction and social media? Because I know that's probably a big part of why we came today, but I wanted to keep it like easy breezy unless you guys have specific questions. No? Okay. I will say this. Go to my social media page, Nicole W. True Homes, rip off whatever you want. Recreate whatever you want. It's gonna be different. It's not gonna be the same. And if you want my help doing it, let me know. Right? We all have access, Tom made this, to branded Canva templates, True Homes. So if you give your go-to person a little bit of heads up and very like specific guidelines on what you would like a flyer to say, we can probably turn around a flyer that's branded with both of our information for you to post, right? So just partner with us on that kind of stuff. All right, so moving on. Probably the easiest way to get sales out of new construction the fastest is an open house. Now, we were having this conversation. An open house can be very creative. An open house can be, we have a staged home in Wendell, and we're gonna go sit there because nobody else is sitting there, right? Now you have to talk to the people that are managing that community and make sure that's okay, and not all builders are gonna let you do that, right? The extra layer to this is what you guys now have to learn to do in your open houses, right? You're gonna have to do that anyways. So honestly, come do it in new construction, get some practice. And I personally find that if you put your signs out, like really put your signs out, I'm talking 10 to 15 signs, directional signs. And the ones that are like just the ones y'all have, not the ones we have. People ignore those like crazy, right? But those little red and blue house signs with directional things, they work like a charm. We'll go buy them sometimes and put them out, and they're more effective than the ones we pay a bunch of money for. People love those. They'll come in and they'll bypass the model, like, and go right to the house because they don't think they want to be sold a house, right? But they're more comfortable talking to you. So definitely get comfortable talking about the buyer agency, obviously. But that was the thing I always told people to do. I used to, when I did open houses for True Homes, I used to do an open house for True Homes every single weekend for like 8 months. I did that. That's where most of my business came from, listings and buy sides. Because there's a lot of people looking for houses that have a house to sell, right? But anyways, I used to have people sign agency in the open house all the time. That should not be scary to you guys.
I do.
Yeah, I mean, like, what's the point otherwise? Like, why are you there? Right? I've sold houses in the open house before. Don't limit yourself. Bring your buyer agency packets, bring multiple buyer agency packets. You don't know what you're walking into, right? You might get multiple leads out of this. The open house can be as simple as sitting in a staged house and not staged house. It's usually going to be a completed house. Definitely do the social media and the e-blasting and everything before you get there, but that's more for your benefit than ours. Most of the time, that's not necessarily the people who show up unless they're a lead you already have that you're trying to sell that particular community to or get them on board with looking at new construction. What's going to happen is the walk-in traffic that's unrepresented is most highly like drawn to the signs. And I know this because I've asked and asked and asked people when they come in, what brought you in today? They may have seen it online because a lot of buyers who are unrepresented are getting more savvy about that. But a lot of the ones who saw it online got it from their agent in the MLS anyways. And that agent was like, there's an open house at new construction. I don't need you there. You just go ahead. Right? So ask those questions. Ask them, who is your agent? Not just do you have an agent? Who is your agent? Because, and don't just let them write it down. Ask it, right? Because it's easier to lie writing it down and saying it out loud. That's also why I ask people to tell me their phone number and their email instead of having them write it down. That's just a little trick. But ask them who their agent is because I see people stumble over that one all the time. For whatever the reason they come talk to me, I guess they think I'm like a general brokerage agent sitting in the model home. They think I'm trying to angle to represent them. And when I explain that I represent the builder and not buyers, then they open up a little bit. But people are a little bit reserved on that. So sometimes they're just saying they have an agent just to like back off. I have an agent, right? But dig into it and have a casual conversation with them and start dropping little nuggets about how important having an agent is into the conversation. And that's part of what we're going to talk about next. So first of all, specific to open houses, we only let certain people do them. And what I mean by that is people who have come, checked out the neighborhood, who are our partners, who we know are going to do the things that we're asking to do and put in the time, right? So if you want to do that, just come have conversations with us and visit the community where you want to come and do your open house, and we'll help you with that. Utilize the social media, engage with the clients, bring them to the model. That is a huge step. You are not physically tied to that open house. The whole point of you being there is for you to get business and for us to get business. So if you have a really good lead who just signed an agency agreement with you, who's really interested in this house, why would you say, okay, go over and talk to Nicole? You walk right away in that house, leave that door open, I don't care. There's a little sign there that says, sorry we missed you, I don't care. You know, like bring them over because I'd rather have us do a deal together than that person just move on. Right? And then we're both trying to follow up with them and get them back. Right? And then yeah, discuss agency. And I have several broker partners who have sold repeated True homes through this process. Right? So the more consistently you do it, the better, in my opinion, because you'll get to really know whatever builder it is, you know, you'll get to know their product and you'll get to be that expert. And so you don't have to be the full expert, but you'll be able to speak to it enough that they're going to want to rely on you, right? So the biggest piece of this, successful agents have a very firm follow-up system. This is the most important thing. Why would you spend your Saturday at an open house and then not call these people? So when I was on a team, what we used to do is 5 contact points in the week following the open house. So the next day, call, text, email, right? Only if they don't answer. I don't like do all of it, dance, right? If they don't answer that, I wait a day, and then the day after that, I do another method. And then the day after that, or 2 days after that, I do another method of contact. Then, every week for a month. Then every month for a quarter. And then every quarter until they tell me to leave them the hell alone. Right?
Mhm.
Like for real, you guys have CRMs, you have all the things, you can automate it, do it. Because I've had people go ghost on me for a year and then come back. And it's because of the follow-ups. Get them to follow you on social media. That's another really big one too. Get them to follow you on social media. Do it while you're at the open house. Figure out a way to bring it up in the conversation and be like, oh yeah, totally. I did a video like that on my Instagram. Why don't you go? I'll tell you how to look it up. Follow me. And then you can go check it out later. And now they're gonna see all your stuff. All right, so you did your open house, you got the leads. So now what are you guys gonna do with them? That's an actual question.
All that.
Yeah, that's a very good first step. Okay. What's next?
Hey.
They're like, cool, I wanna work with you, I'm interested in some new construction. What do you do next?
You're fine.
Yes, ask if they're pre-qualified, and they get qualified, right? Then what? They get qualified.
See what their budget is,
Mm-hmm.
what their needs are.
Where they wanna be.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like a consultation, right? So we're actually having meetings with people, yeah?
Yeah, I set the appointment. Let me buy you a beer.
Yeah.
And we go and have a beer. I don't create any friction. I'm not asking for a pre-qual. I'm not asking for a pre-approval. I'm not asking for funds. I'm gonna go and I'll buy you a beer.
For the consultation, and then you're gonna talk about the importance of these things
Exactly.
while you're there. That's cool, as long as you're talking about it while you're there, yeah. Yeah, because I have never seen somebody be truly successful and efficient with a buyer when they are not having those conversations before going out and looking. I just never have really truly seen that. And I never would do it when I was in general brokerage. They got like one freebie from me. That was it. And then, okay, now you need to talk to a lender. Because what's the point? I have people come in all day. I'm pre-approved for $650. That's great. What do you want your monthly payment to be? $2,000 a month. Cool. Cool. How much cash are you gonna be putting down? Oh, no. I qualify for VA. It's 100% financing. That is an amazing program. So let's talk about what a $650,000 loan really looks like in terms of a monthly payment, because their lender didn't tell them. They just said you're qualified for $650. Have fun. You know, so that's why that conversation is so important. The consultation is definitely important, so you're not wasting their time and your time. And then what? Now you got it. They want new construction. You know what they need. What's your next step?
I need to get into the nitty gritty. What are you looking for? What do
Yeah.
you want? Out of the
Let's say you've
experience?
got all that. You've got their list. You've got the things. What's your next step?
I'm calling you.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, I would love for you to call me. You can, by the way, just reach out to your person and like send us an email, text, call us and be like, I got buyer A, B, C, D. They need these things. Tell me where you got them. And it makes it really easy. But call your people, whoever those people are. Figure out where you're gonna go on a tour. Please do not just go tour because there's stuff in the MLS that looks like it works for them. That's gonna be like every single time I have somebody come in that saw 10 houses that day, they're just done. They can't remember anything. They can't make a decision. They're frozen in analysis paralysis. So you're much better off to take them to 3 places that you've heavily investigated for them and called ahead and made sure it works for them. Especially if you are going to mix in any resale, because then it gets even more. So do that and then set an appointment with the on-site. I think that that's one of the places where I really see people struggling right now is in setting the appointment. They're trying to do so much of the front end work that they probably spend like a week emailing back and forth with us about stuff. And then the stuff that like if they were looking for a quick move in home, it's gone. It's gone. And so now they missed out on that when they could have come out for an hour-long appointment and we could have gone through all of that. We are going to be much faster and efficient at getting you that information in that appointment than if you try to figure it out all online. Still want you to call people and ask. But that's like a brief high level, does this generally make sense? Does this work? Is it worth us coming out there kind of thing? So do you have any questions about, okay, I've got the leads, book the appointment, any of the in-between stuff? Pretty straightforward. I drive you hard on the questions because I want you to Yeah. All right, so what do you guys need to know about the building process? Any like burning questions that I can go ahead and address? That you wish somebody had told you? If not, that's fine, I've got other stuff to talk about. No? Okay, if you ever think of something and you're like, Nicole, why this, why that? Please feel free to call me. I can't speak for policies of other builders, but if it's like a why is it this step, then that step, then this step, then I probably know the answer to that. So a couple things about builders in general. That's what this page is. So different builders are gonna react differently to things in the market. Right now, I'd say a good portion of us are on first come, first serve. That's just the nature of the market right now. Although I think you're gonna see a significant shift away from that soon, if things keep traveling the way that they are with rates. And with all these people coming out, it's gonna depend on a case by case basis, builder to builder and community to community. Benson Village is on an interest list right now. For our phase 2 lots, we have 1 lot left in phase 1 because it only fits certain plans. But what that means is we have a whole month of people coming in, having appointments, getting on a list, and then we release lots. Usually in the first week, they're all sold. So this is relevant information to know about. Please do not turn your clients away from an interest list, because our interest list, for example, is usually like kind of like emptied out at the beginning of the month, and then we start over again, and then it just keeps going like that until the land is developed and we have more lots. So it won't be that way forever, but it's relevant to know. And, you know, you can kind of set expectations for people walking into different situations. And if they're really, really tight on their timeline, then you need to know that, right? I think you're gonna see more of that because it depends on some of these builders. There's one who's renowned for it, and I won't say who it is, but they'll sell like a whole phase before they even have their model out there. And then you get out there and that first phase might take 9 months to build, whereas the average for everybody is 6 months, and it's because they blew out all their sales and they got so backlogged that it started taking longer for everybody, right? We really deliberately try not to do that. And we also try to sell lots that we can set good expectations on so people can see what they look like. So that's why you'll see some builders don't care and they just keep blowing it out. And some builders are gonna have like a start and go, and it has to do with how they develop and how they sell. So you can ask questions like that. Some builders are going to inventory only. A lot of builders are going to inventory only because they noticed during COVID, things got more expensive and it saved them money and time to just do inventory. Plus, a lot of people do want quick move-in homes, so there's some benefits to having the inventory. We are highly focused on what we call client builds because we want people to have those options and affordability, right? But know what the situation is there. Don't just assume because you're going to see an inventory home and you see an empty lot that means that that person can pick that lot, pick a plan in that neighborhood. Especially like around Benson, for example, there's a lot of these smaller builders that used to be custom that are just blowing out a whole neighborhood full of inventory homes. And so the nature of it, you would look at it, roll up there, there's no on-site agent, and you know, it depends. Maybe you guys have somebody like April's team represents a lot of builders, right? But you might know somebody internally who's representing them, but unless you can get those people on the phone, it might look like you can customize and build, but in reality you can't. They pick everything, right? You're seeing a lot going that way. You're seeing a few of them open it up a little bit more because honestly, it's financially less risky to do a client build than to do inventory, because you have somebody who's already paid a deposit, they've picked out what they want, they're emotionally involved, right? But you'll watch that trend. We'll see how it continues to go. It also depends on what land they're picking up and how fast they need to go. So if Lennar, a big publicly traded company, had a neighborhood in California that they were counting on and it doesn't come online, but they have all this land in North Carolina, they might just hit the gas pedal there, right? And that's what I meant earlier about sometimes these national builders, the reason behind the why isn't always really obvious on a local level. So sometimes you have to pan out and think about what are they going for nationally and why are they doing this. Limited option selection. So some of them might still be customizing, but they've really scaled back on how much they're customizing. And again, this is probably saving them money and time. Time is money in new construction. We don't really see too much of offer submissions, but I am seeing more multiple offers. I don't know if you guys are in the resale market, but we're definitely seeing more of it in the new construction market. So just be aware that if somebody is interested in an inventory home, just go ahead and get them on that house. Because if they wait, that's exactly how every single one of my multiple offers has happened recently. is somebody was thinking about it for 2 weeks and then somebody else, and then they decided to move forward with it. And while we were trying to do that, somebody else showed up and was like, I want it. And now we have 2 people and I didn't have a contract signed, so I have to, you know? And so make sure that your clients understand that there's some of that behavior out there too, especially your more affordable price points or things that are hard to find. So just because we had a lapse from that for a while, don't think that we're not going to see some behavior of that in some places. Lot allocation is the situation I'm in Benson Village. We can only sell 3 lots per month, whereas we were selling 5 to 8 every month before that, and that has to do with our land development. So a lot of times there's a reason. It can be land development, it can be all kinds of different things, but a builder may restrict how many homes can be sold in that neighborhood per month. Trust me, there's probably a reason for it because they don't want to limit themselves on how much they're selling, right? And then the timing of putting the inventory on the market. So before, during COVID, when things were insane, all the builders were waiting until the house was finished because they knew they could make more money on it at the end. If they waited that extra 4 months, the price went up so much, they could get a lot more money on it. Now, they want to sell everything they can and get it off their books, especially the second half of the year. Every builder is so focused on getting inventory homes off their books from July to December. Because sometimes builders it'll come in a little bit earlier, like September, October, but a lot of closing calendars are based on January through December. So again, having your partners and knowing these things are huge because this turns into how do I get my client the best deal I can? How do I get them incentives? And that's why you notice the end of every year, you'll just see like builders start slashing incentives all over the place, price decreases and stuff. They're trying to get stuff off their books. So that's a really good thing to know, but also to know that that activity is really kind of there from like July to December. It's not just November, December. So you can take advantage of that a little bit earlier in the year, depending on how strategic that particular builder is being. I do think that we're going to see incentives start to trail off. So as demand goes up, incentives will go away. That's just how that works. And so your clients who need that, they need to not wait, right? So this is just a general page about the build process. So I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on that, but if you want more information on like what comes after what, that's right there. If you are not aware, with the type of building that we're talking about, so we're not talking about a custom build, you can do all your main loan programs. It doesn't really matter to us because the builder is taking on the construction loan and that client doesn't have a loan until they close. VA, FHA, USDA, and a lot of places. There's also specific financing programs based on the location. So again, having your partner and asking them that question, do you have any special financing program with your preferred lenders in your area? In Benson Village, we have 2 preferred lenders that can do up to 100% financing with no PMI, with no income cap. You can come in there making $450,000 a year, and as long as you have the right credit score, you can get 100% financing and you don't have PMI. So there are plenty of people out there who make good money that maybe don't have money or just don't want to spend it, right? Or they're trying to get creative with the money they do have, and so by taking the PMI off, they can start using some of their money that they were going to put down for 20% to buy down their interest rate, and maybe that gets them to a lower payment if they had put the 20% down. So a good lender is going to run through that with them, but asking the on-site what programs are specific to that area, that person should be the expert in those things. And if not, ask them for the referral to their preferred lender so that you can call them and ask that question. Just a little bit about benefits of using a preferred lender. I know you guys have your people, and that's fantastic. You're probably gonna have a smoother process with a preferred lender, unless the caveat I have to this is sometimes it's not always the same experience when the builder owns the lender, right? But when they have a list of preferred lenders, all those preferreds are not only competing against your preferred lender, but each other. So they're gonna be competitive. Also, sometimes they build in rate decreases just because of the source of the business. So they're getting a lot of business from that builder. That client might literally be getting a better rate buying with that builder than if they use that same lender somewhere else, right? So that's something to ask the lender too. They're usually giving something towards closing costs, or the builder is. In our situation, our lenders are giving it, and they give up to $2,000, but we've got like Truist will do a $7,500 grant. Wells has a grant. US Bank has a grant. Movement has a second loan option that's really similar to NC Housing. Again, maybe for people who have good credit and make good money but don't have money, they'll do up to 5% down as a second loan with a really, really low interest rate. So there's options like that. So make sure you're asking those things, but you'll stay on track and you're more likely to close when you use a preferred lender because they already know that builder's process. And they already know who to talk to if something comes up. All right, so where do you guys feel like your value is when it comes to representing people in new construction? How are you providing that value?
Just knowledge of different builders and, having gone through the process of
Yeah.
walking, a buyer through new construction,
Yeah.
just knowing what's coming up and.
Yeah, I keep track of dates.
Yeah, keeping track of the dates. How many of you sold new construction before? Okay, that's good. Yeah. If you haven't and you're like, I can't represent myself as the expert, here's the biggest trick. We have sold plenty of new construction. That is a true statement. Your firm has done it. Call the people that you need to call to help you out with it. But I think that first statement for sure is one of the biggest ways to initially show your clients your value is who you know, all these questions I'm telling you to ask, the research that you can do. And when you get going and you get good, you can do it quickly, right? I know some people who keep spreadsheets, right? Which is fine if your brain works that way. I think it's a lot of work, right? I don't even keep spreadsheets for everything. And so learning over time who to ask what questions to, and it changes, so it helps to just ask and get updated. I think that's a big one. Being able to tell them this is normal. This is what most builders do. Or this is not normal. Or this is not normal in a good way. That's another really big piece. So if you guys ever want to do a class that's more like about new construction, we will let you come on site and we'll teach an actual new construction class and then go walk sites together. And we can look at stuff before drywall goes up and talk about stuff like that. So it helps you with your comfortability. But being able to speak to that, the contracts, ask for a copy of the contract ahead of time. And if you have time, review it so that you can give your value there, right? Okay, we talked about finding the right community, so I'm gonna skip back to that one. Oh, if a builder offers you something like this, take advantage of it. So pretty much every week, unless I get really, really busy, I send out a weekly newsletter from me and Ariel. So if you want to get signed up for it, you can just scan this QR code. And we let you know the highlights of what we want you guys to know is going on, if there's events, if there's new communities coming out, pricing changes, stuff like that. And the big piece that I think a lot of people get value out of is under the banner in the email, it'll look like this. The banner says dreams come true. There will be, this is not the most up-to-date copy, so don't focus on this. But there'll be something that looks like this. And it has a list of all of the inventory homes that True Homes has in the Raleigh market. This is a really great resource to make your job easier. And if you scan this QR code, it'll take you to a live Google Drive of this so that you can pull it up whenever you want. And we do try to update it whenever things change. It can be a little outdated, so check on it, but definitely check out the drive. Okay, so we talked about booking an appointment. This is another one that I see get tripped up a lot. If your client cannot physically be there, go ahead and book a virtual appointment. It's better than waiting, in my opinion. Have an appointment if that on-site will do it virtually, because then you can get a lot of information and they're going to be more tied in to actually making the time to go to the place that they need to go, right? Or maybe they're just out of town and they need that in order to feel comfortable flying into town and checking stuff out. We talked about this. Let the on-site do their process. If you need to insert a question, I'm not telling you not to, right? But if it's a question that's going to completely derail the process, write it down so you don't forget it. Make sure to bring it up later. But definitely let them do their process because it will go the smoothest that way. My old boss used to tell me to sit down and shut up. I'm not telling you to do that.
Well, chances are you're gonna cover it. That's the
I mean,
reality.
yeah.
We can just cross it off when you say.
My goal is for every single person that walks in my door to buy a house that day. How can they buy a house that day if they don't know what they want to buy, where they want to buy it, what it includes, how much it costs, and an idea of what that monthly payment looks like if they're financing. So I'm gonna go through this, right? This is a really big thing for us. We build homes exclusively for friends and family members. We treat you guys in the same category, so that relationship is huge. If there is something that could be potentially frustrating or upsetting for your clients, don't blow it up in front of the clients. And I'm not saying that to save us, I'm saying that for the clients. Because most of the time, whatever it is, whatever the solution is gonna be, we can figure it out and it's gonna work out better if we talk about it and then you go talk to your client about it, or we all talk about it together, rather than them getting highly emotional about it or upset. I have seen unfortunately situations where it could have very easily, like we had a solution, but they had gotten so worked up by somebody that by the time we got to the solution, even though it fixed exactly what the problem was, they just weren't there for it, right? So this is a big key part, and it goes both ways. If you need to give us feedback, it just makes you look more professional. If you say to your client, hey, I know that you didn't love what just happened. Why don't you go ahead? I'm gonna stay back for a couple minutes. I'm gonna go have a conversation with them. I've got a really good relationship with them, so I'll just talk to them. And then you come in and you say, hey, I know you didn't mean to do that on purpose, but this upset me for this reason. Let me tell you why. And then that's actually helpful versus going in hot, right? My last one. Your clients will 100% of the time change their mind about something. Something is going to happen. The number of times I've had people come in and be like, I absolutely will not buy anything but a ranch with a 3-car garage and then buy a townhome. You know? And the funny thing is when there is an agent who is like really trying to pull them back from doing that, which if they have expressed something to you that they have not expressed to the onsite that is really important to them, best way to handle that. So are you telling me that you decided that the space for your dog in the backyard that was a deal breaker isn't because you love this so much, whatever that thing is? That's a really nice way to bring that up without bombing everything, right? But then they're also giving you the feedback that they've mentally traded that off. And now that changes your whole process if they're not about to buy that house, right? And you need to know that. So knowing that they might change their mind, don't fight that process too much. They just might not have thought about something. Right? And then now that it's presented to them and they've decided they kind of like it. So just, I would say the number one thing there is ask second level questions before you tell them, oh, no, you don't want to look at the townhomes because you told me that you didn't want to look at the townhome. Don't do that. Ask them, so why do you want to look at the townhomes? What is it about it that's making you want to go? So that's pretty much it for me, guys. I think that is my best tips of the experience I've had with True Homes. I've been here for 5 years now. On how to try to get the leads, what to do with them, and how to successfully navigate the appointment and being under contract. Do you guys have any questions about anything that I did not cover? No? Okay. There's a couple flyers, there's some out there. There's one for the Whitehall townhome. Really great pricing on those. There's one for the Bowie's Creek townhomes. And then there's also one that is just about us as semi-custom builder, and the list of neighborhoods on the bottom is where we can do semi-custom client builds of all our different homes. Okay.
Awesome.
I only went 8 minutes over.
You're great. No, that was amazing.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you. All right, and there's lunch, there's subs, there's wrap, and there's a few salads if people don't do carbs or meat. All right.
All right, everyone, make sure you grab some lunch. Thank you, Nicole, once again. That was very informative. Next week, we've got Caitlin Jackson back. She is the cosplaying realtor. She will be dressed up something. We'll be talking about social media posting strategies. So basically, I said I wanted her to come in. If you don't post anything about your business on social media, she's going to tell you where to start, how often, which platforms, all that good stuff. Next Wednesday. Yeah. So what's your name? Sarah P. Nice to meet you. Well, and I also actually talked to Brian last week. So yes, so you guys have heard it was written really well. You guys got a shout out on her page. You guys should follow. I cannot. I'm still not hooked up to dance. Still? Well, I may be able to. I have to get Colleen to do it. Yeah. We're still Colleen at Steven.com. Yes. Just, I want to do it, I need to get right.
So. I'll mention, so. But.
Factor.